Richard, I want to apologize already. I cut you off twice before we even
That's all
recorded.
good.
So
That was a
I'm so
dramatic
sorry.
countdown.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, welcome back to the show. Today we have Richard with Cathead Distilling, and we're going to get into that. Believe me, don't you worry. He was gracious enough and sent over a couple of not samples but bottles, and we're going to dip into those. We're going to talk about their brand, what they're doing, all that cool stuff. Richard, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. It's a Thursday night, and I get to drink whiskey on a Zoom call. So I call them all Zoom calls. So I know it's not Zoom, but still.
Sure.
So but while we're talking, I am going to open up the Old Soul small batch and let that air out for a second.
Cool. I got these two next to me, fresh bottles, so I'll be opening them with you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So while we get started, obviously everybody's gonna want to know why Cathead Distilling. That is a strange name. I know why, but my listeners might not know why. So why Cathead Distilling?
So my co-founder Austin Evans and I met in college. My mom puts it best. She's like, you guys combined everything you like to do, music, drinking, and just getting people together. And Austin is from Mississippi, and in college he was kind of my gateway to blues music, and we started going to blues festivals over in the Delta, and I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years after college, we were at a festival, and we were both in the industry, just in different areas of it, and it was just kind of like one of those moments that clicked, kind of late night in the Mississippi Delta, having a good old time, and really a lot of our common bond was around live music. And just, experiencing things that are real. And blues music is home to Mississippi. Clarksdale is kind of the epicenter for it. And one of the most important words around blues music is cathead. It's a symbol of respect. It's a symbolic piece of folk art. It's a term of endearment. Blues musicians would refer to one another as cats, like that cat can play. Mm-hmm. And a very special family, son Thomas, started painting and drawing and sculpting cat heads out of Delta clay. And I mean, I wish I had original cat heads to show you. You can Google them, but I mean, they're in the archive, like history archives, and they're museum pieces, and they're really, they're crazy looking and cool. And when we were in the Delta that one late night, I just turned to Austin. I was like, how cool would it be to start Mississippi's first distillery? And he was like, really cool. And the next day was a little bit sobering when I was like, well, you remember that conversation from last night? And he was like, yeah. It's like, how about we do it? And it took a little while to get everything together.
I'm sure
we kept our day jobs for a little while. Mississippi was the last state to repeal prohibition, so it had a lot of not red tape, but just a lot of laws that needed to really be better defined. What they weren't writing code section for agritourism for distilleries in the 60s. So anyway, fast forward to 2010, we opened our doors, and so we'll turn 15 years old in May.
Wow, that's really exciting. So you guys are the first distillery in your state. That's really interesting. Are there some that have came after y'all?
There are. There's let's see, I think there's 5 DSPs in the state,
Okay.
right? A really cool whiskey distillery southmost is Crittenden
Oh
Distillery
yeah, yeah,
Company.
yeah.
They're the only other ones making whiskey presently.
Okay.
We've got a rum distillery, very small batch artisanal rum distillery on the coast. We have a gin distillery up just close to Oxford, Mississippi, and
Okay.
I think we have another one that just was commissioned last year, and I believe they're making vodkas and gins presently.
Okay. But you guys dabble in vodka and stuff like that as well, and the Coors, right?
Yeah, vodka. So our namesake as Cathead Distillery, our first product we ever brought to market was Cathead Vodka. It's still our number 1 best selling brand by volume. Our number 2 is a Honeysuckle Vodka, which we introduced 2 years into our business, and that's just been a huge crowd pleaser for basically since its inception. So it's really been it's been a fun ride. Vodka's been tremendous for just our overall business. And there's probably some whiskey listeners that are rolling their eyes at me saying that. But the reality is, I mean, we've seen the T-shirts. Vodka pays the bills.
Yes.
I'd like to think that we make an exceptional vodka, but I'll let everybody be the judge of that. But you know, we've had a lot of amazing partners in terms of wholesale, in terms of customers, retail, restaurants, and just patrons in general. So we've just been very fortunate to put ourselves out there, and people are buying into what we're doing. So it's been incredible. But vodka's also paved the road for exploration and a bigger portfolio of business. So we've got a pretty significant book now. We're pretty diversified. We make a gin called Bristow. We make a liqueur brand called Hoodoo, which also is kind of segueing into a ready to serve category as well, which is fun. I was listening to your last podcast, or I think it was your last, about coffee, and had I known that. Had I known you liked coffee so much, I would have sent you our newest release. We just put out an espresso product.
Oh, really? Really? Yeah. No,
it's dangerous, but it's fun.
I've been trying really, because whiskey, it opens gateways into other things. Like I'm really, I'm in Central Texas, so I'm really into like barbecue and smoked meats and stuff like that. So that leads you down a path. And then whiskey, it leads you into like, okay, now I need to try a cognac or a brandy or or a rum and then it got me into coffee. Now I'm not a purist. I still drink it with cream and sugar, but at the same time, I do enjoy it. And it's really fun. And, some cocktails with them and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun to play around with different ingredients for sure.
Yeah, it's fun because I started in the industry close to 20 years ago, and my first project I ever worked on was a coffee vodka that didn't come to fruition. And had it, that would have been pretty fun, but I just could never get the flavor profile right. There was just like a bitter component that was just always back and forth with me. And anyway, I've got a local coffee importer roaster friend here in Jackson, and I've never collaborated on anything in our company history until this. And so he's our importer roaster, but it's like super. Once you have like a really good cup of coffee, it's really hard to kind of segue from that. I still drink commodity coffee all day, every day, but his coffee is special. His roasting process is special. The the origin of where it comes from. It's like single estate, like the bottle. It's called Hoodoo Espresso, but we've got like the altitude at where, or the elevation of where the beans were grown. It's totally nerdy and fun, but
Absolutely.
And it's been a hell of a time launching it, because you drink a few of these at launch parties, and the alcohol wears off and you're wide awake at 3 a.m. But
Right. It's good and bad, right? You're like, okay,
yeah,
I need to go to bed. I can't though. I've had one too many espressos. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
But
that's awesome.
But bourbon has been a plan from the beginning, even before we had the name picked out for Old Soul. But as your barrels are getting older and materializing and starting to taste good, we were like, holy shit, we gotta figure out a name for this. And then and then it was crazy, because at that point in time we had enough legal acumen to have a patent and trademark attorney do like knockout searches on names, and he ran the word Old Soul for us, because that was something that really resonated with like our culture around here. We hire a lot of people that I would consider old souls.
Right.
And I think it really speaks for kind of like maybe our direction as far as where we're taking the brand. People, a Mississippi distillery releasing sourced product initially, people don't really understand what we're doing. And I think that's kind of our narrative and story, is to show them, we're not just going in fully invested in something. This is an evolution of time. So I sent you an estate bottle.
Yes.
That's a one-off. I think we only did 9 barrels of it.
Wow.
It says made only for Mississippi on the front label.
Okay.
So it's gone. It's out in the market. It's gone. So we have a little bit in our gift shop, but it's been received pretty well. But it was a one-off mash bill that we're not doing, and it's not part of our program. But I'll just give you kind of an indication of what style of whiskey, maybe a little bit of an idea of our pot distillation program, and how our terroir and barrel aging interacts with that. So
So I will tell you, I poured the small batch that y'all have, and it's really nice. Did it say that age on it? I don't remember. It didn't say the age. What was the age on the small batch? Do you know? I
think it should be about 5 to 6 years old.
Okay.
We don't put it on here.
Right. I mean, it's
a blend of 44 barrels. Yeah.
So it has a really nice nose, and the taste, it lingers for it only being, I'm not a proof hound but for it only being, a 95 proof, it lingers for a while.
No, this is 90 proof.
Right.
Yeah.
So it lingers for a while on the palate, and then that rye just kind of rides really nice. It gets a little, I don't know, like a dusty corn for me. That's kind of what I always go through with a high corn mash bill. That's normally what I pick out, like opening a corn sack. We live on a ranch, so it's one of those things, you open corn sacks all the time, and that's what I get on the nose, along with caramel, vanilla, all the basic bourbon flavors. But I like to go a little deeper, as most people do. They want to go a little deeper and get past all the things, all the basic notes, and it's really nice, and it's approachable, and it's a whiskey I could give to anybody and they would be like, man, that's good. It's just a good solid bourbon. So thank you. And kudos.
We didn't make the distillate. This is Indiana sourced, but it's been aged exclusively at Cathead, and that's kind of indicative of our products. Right. Before we started investing significantly in trying to figure out a scale process for bourbon, we were like, we're going to give this a lot of time, which this industry is kind of crazy. Like our our oldest MGP or Indiana product is 9+ years old.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, sitting in barrel at Cathead for that long.
Yeah.
We received new make, fill it on site. That was kind of a decision that we made early on, rather than, we didn't have the capital to like go buy older product. It was kind of gangbusters, and then High West sells, and then you have all this private equity that starts flooding into the market and driving up things, and so we never had the luxury of being able to buy anything, which is a blessing and a curse.
Yes, sir.
Maybe all of the above, because I really wanted to get some high age statement whiskeys and hold on to them longer and just kind of see what that would do, but an experiment with older blends. But I think we have a pretty great team on the back of the house side. We have 2 distillers. Quality of life is a big thing for us. So, we make what we make, and then we go home. And we've got a small consortium of folks that taste through everything and, kind of watch our sticks. And I think, I appreciate you saying that you can give a small batch to anyone. This is typically my go-to cocktail at night with my wife, and sit there and have an old fashioned, and
I love that.
Try to unwind after the kids go to bed.
I totally agree. I mean, I think that's any person with children. Obviously, you're of drinking age. That's all you want to do at the end of the night. You just want to have a drink, sit down with your wife, have 5 minutes to where you can have a adult conversation before you want to pass out in the bed. I mean, that's kind of how life goes these days. It's unfortunate, but it's also, this is what we do. We run ourselves ragged all day long, and then we're like, oh, finally. Crazy.
I get it. Cheers.
But thank you. That was actually water. I wasn't shooting all the rest of the whiskey. That was water. I was cleaning the glass out. But I will say, exactly. I can't wait to get into the next one to see if I can see the flavor profile of, because as you well know, if you've listened to this show for a minute, I love to talk about terroir and how your specific area is making whiskey, and even if you're not making it, but if you're taking new make, putting it in a barrel, you just didn't do the hard part. I mean, not the hard part. You didn't do the easy part. The hard part is sitting there and sitting on the whiskey for so long until you're like, hey, we need to pull this, so that's really the hard part, is not touching it for 6 years or whatever. So it's going to be interesting moving forward. And do we want to do the single barrel next?
Yeah, I recommend going up small batch, single barrel, and then we'll do the tin type.
Okay. Awesome. So while I'm opening this one, and we're going to let it breathe for a minute because new whiskey needs some air. What made you? I mean, other than just saying, hey, it'd be cool if we could. Have you been into whiskey and spirits your whole life, or were you you said you were in the industry, and if you can't talk about it, I understand. What made you want to say, hey, at the end of the day, you're like, okay, we want to do a distillery, and obviously that doesn't happen overnight. What were some of the beginning struggles that you had, other than gaining capital, obviously, but what were some of the struggles that you had in the very beginning, just trying to go through the hurdles, obviously through Mississippi getting licensing and stuff, but some of the other things you had to deal with?
That's probably a 20-hour conversation.
I got time. Let's go. We're gonna pull a Joe Rogan tonight. Who knows?
All right. I don't think our struggles are any different than any business, any small business. So it's just we're obviously in a very regulated industry.
Right.
I think early on the federal excise tax was a big challenge for us, largely in part because we thought we were using our license how it was instructed by way of the Cincinnati office, and then we grew to a certain size and didn't realize that we had to change our reporting style. So you get a knock on the door, and we were like, okay, well, we thought we were using our bond per so and so, and that was a very eye-opening moment because the tax before the federal excise tax relief came in, I would say it was the hardest thing because you're paying your taxes, basically before you're receiving your receivables on your product going out the door.
Oh wow!
So
yeah,
that was that was a big hurdle, and tax now is still high. It's expensive, but it's not like what it used to be. So I went to I think it was like, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but like 11 something a proof gallon. 10, 13 a proof gallon or something like that. I can't remember. And now it's down to, a couple dollars, which is way better.
Yes.
But that afforded us to put money back into inventory, back into our people, kind of start growing and starting to be a real business. I feel like we were working for the tax man and still do, but it's in a place where we're pretty happy with how we're content with the tax structure. It's not awful anymore. I'd say that was the hardest thing. Is just like you get to a certain scale of business and you're shelling over more money than you draw income every month. Absolutely. And you're like, holy, how am I surviving? So I would say, that was our biggest hurdle. Capital, if you know how to raise capital, tell me.
I don't.
We don't know how to do that. We've gotten a lot of knocks on the doors over the years, and one of my mentors is just like, you never want to sell your business because then you got to start paying for things like health insurance and things that you don't think about. I don't know, like our intention when we started this was probably high hopes to be able to pass this on to our children someday, or another generation somewhere in the line of our stewards of our business. But we're still young and fully engaged every day, so we know what it takes to sell a case, and it's a lot of hard work and a lot of good people behind it. That
and that's it's a labor of love, obviously, but at the same time, you talk to anybody, somebody who's in engineering, or somebody who's like me. My dreaded day job is I'm a plumber. I own my own business, which is great because I can set my own hours and stuff like that, but you're still confined to you're working for the man or somebody else, you know what I mean? So I totally get what you're saying about the whole tax thing, because when I first started, I had a crew of guys, and I was like, hey, we're going to go out there and knock all these jobs out and blah, 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 blah. Well, I was paying more in taxes than I was making on the job. And so I was actually losing money because I'm not one of these guys who price gouges and does, things like that. But I was actually losing money on the job. And I'm like, it would be easier for me to just work by myself, and then whatever revenue that came in after I paid everything, then, there's that. And so I've been doing that for a long time, which obviously you don't get growth in a company, right? You can't grow because you're kind of at a plateau unless you sell out or hire another crew, which then you have to pay more money to. So I totally get that. And when you want to grow a company, you have to make those hard decisions, and you have to make those, how do you say it? You have to, either like shit or get off the pot type. I hate to say it like that, but that you have to do that. Do we want to spend the extra capital to make the warehouse bigger or hire more employees or something like that, or do we want to stay in our little small bubble? And I salute you for stepping outside and doing that, because it's not easy. Not every brand can do that. So,
well, when we started, we didn't even have a distillery. We just had a warehouse, and we contracted our first production run out on vodka.
Right.
That changed hands like 4 times over, but I think it's like Caribbean Distillers now. So we didn't know how to raise money, so we just put our money together. We raised our own money out of our own back pocket, put money in. We had a few like friends that gave us like, basically it was like, if you don't take my money, I'm going to drink this at the bar. So we were like, it's a bad idea investing in us, but
yeah,
I mean, like, come on in.
I guess.
But I mean, I think they've gotten a good benefit out of it. They've had a lot of fun alongside of us. Yeah, we put all of our money into a contract run, and before we were able to hire anybody, Austin and I received this, I think it was like a truckload of vodka, and we finally got it in our small little warehouse, and we were like, holy shit, how are we going to sell all this? This is really scary.
That's a lot of vodka.
And it was like May, so it was starting to get really hot in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And Austin had like a Tahoe with 150,000 miles on it, and the air conditioning gave out like week 2, and us out in the market selling. And we'd Mississippi, for those of you that don't know, has a lot of casinos. So we would gamble enough to get comp rooms to stay the night on the road. And then we did that for like, I don't know, 5 months. And then we were like, we got to get back and actually run a business now. We have like, we got to check our PO box and things like that.
Right.
So we ended up hiring a guy who's our president of sales. He's employee number 1, as he likes to call it. But he's been with us basically from the get-go, and he's brought an incredible team and culture on board to help go sell everything that we make. But yeah, those early days were a lot of fun. But looking back at it now and knowing what I know now, like,
right,
I don't know if I would have jumped off and made the move. I mean, given we were both in the industry, I mean, what got me into this, you're kind of asking earlier, but I was in the wine and spirits manufacturing side, and then moved into imports. And so I worked for a specialty importer in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We brought imported beer, wine, and single malts. And the single malt category, I was really young. I had no idea what I was walking into. And it just so happened that, we were like one of the cult importers of single malts. We had Edgedour, which at the time was the smallest distillery in Scotland. And the minimum age statement was a 10-year single malt. And then we had Signatory, which is, if you're familiar with,
yes,
really cool stuff. It's a history lesson. And I think that's what kind of got me, was the history of it all, and learning, how Signatory came to be. The guy that started Signatory actually ended up buying Edgedour eventually. So that's kind of how that segued in. But such a cool story. And, got to kind of learn the romance of all these different distilleries in Scotland, and conversing with all these breweries and wineries from all over the world, and just the small purveyors and how passionate they were. And a lot of people I worked with, I'm like on the export side, I was kind of like gunning for their jobs, and I was like, "What's next for you?" And it was like to get home to my country and start a small winery or something like that. And
Right.
I was like, "All right, I've figured out where I want to go. I just don't know how to get there."
Right.
So anyway, now here I am.
There you go. There you go. And now you're thriving, as they say, thriving in the business.
I wouldn't say that, but we've been fortunate enough to be around for 15 years.
There you go. There you go. Hey, don't sell yourself short. You're thriving. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this, the single barrel. It is really it's the same profile as the small batch as well, but
Yep.
it also it's a little creamier to me, and it's at 109 proof, which is a great proof point. And to me, it still has that rye that lingers on your tongue, but then it doesn't, like, whereas the small batch, I kind of got a black pepper finish. This one finishes super creamy and super, I hate to use the word smooth, but super approachable, smooth, whatever you want to call it, at the very end. And it's just really nice. And again, this would be a great bottle for a more advanced bourbon drinker, but that could take a little bit more proof. But yeah, it's a great pour. And I'm not just blowing smoke, it actually is.
Thank you. Yeah, we like it. This, expression, the single barrels, we're picking these. They're meeting a different profile for us, and you as you go up in proof, you're going to get more pronounced flavors, in my opinion.
Yes.
And we want this expression to just be a little bit more of like bespoke to the barrels we're picking.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about let's get a little geeky, if you want to get geeky. You guys are, when you're making product, let's look at the size of your still and see and then, if you want to go into fermentation time or whatever, I don't care. Just kind of take us on a tour through the warehouse, basically.
Yeah, I was trying to get you on my iPad earlier because I was going to walk you around.
It happens. Technical errors. It's life.
It's all good. So yeah, we're running a pot still, 500 gallons. We actually have 2 stills out there that we haven't commissioned yet that are that we went over to Scotland and had made for us, Scottish 4-size stills. So
yes,
for scale down the road, and those are a lot larger. Those are 2,000 gallons and 1,300 gallons.
Whoa!
But we received them right in the middle of the pandemic, and interest rates started going crazy and everything got expensive. So we were like, all right, we're going to tap the brakes on this for a second. But we got the most critical part. Someday that'll be a lot of fun. But our pot still, we're making about a barrel a day. It's nothing crazy. But,
all right, I'm going to sneak in here real fast, guys. I won't keep you long. I wanted to talk about our sponsor today. That is none other than Hinterhouse Distilling. This is the Batch 3 American Single Malt, their Discovery Series, their collab with Dust Bowl Brewing Company. And I was talking to Nate the other day, and he said that this bottle is almost sold out. So if you want to get one, go over to hinterhausdistilling.com and pick you up a bottle. I've been sipping on this one. I sampled this one out a little bit to some people. We've had some really good reviews with it. So if you're into American Single Malt, and they also have bourbons and other things, their Warming Hut was an amazing cordial or holiday drink that they made. I don't know if that's available anymore, so you have to check the website. But one of the things I will say, these guys are grain to glass. They're doing everything in-house. They're trying to keep it as local and as terroir driven as possible. So go over there, check them out, hinterhofdistilling.com. They do have pretty good distribution, so you should be able to get you a bottle. So y'all be good. Enjoy the rest of the show. And until next time, keep your spirits up.
Again, I go back to the quality of life, and that's why we wanted to get larger stills. Obviously, we wanted a little bit more output, but really, we don't want to, we don't want a crazy environment of, running 24/7.
No.
It's just we've done that before, and during the pandemic, and when we switched over to hand sanitizer, and it was an adrenaline rush for a little while. We were running 24/7 at 4 different facilities, and it was awesome. Our team stepped up, did an incredible job, but we all needed a break after that. And,
absolutely.
Realized really quickly that it's like, who do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like not a 24/7 facility.
No. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's all about the balance of life, right? And doing the job that you love, which unfortunately making whiskey is a job. Doing that, or because you can get immersed into it and you're doing it for all the time. I mean, just you being on this show right now talking to me, you're doing whiskey stuff, and you could be at home with your family, so like I get it. It's a thing, and it's a labor of love, but at the same time you have to be able to separate yourself from that at some point. And yes, the bottom line matters, all that matters, but at the same time, it's not going to make your life any easier, for sure. Yeah, you might have a couple extra dollars, but you don't have anybody to bring it home to because everybody left. You know what I mean? So like, I totally get this. Like, hey, let's take a little time for ourselves. And these big guys, they're doing 24/7. They, their bottom line is the issue. So they don't care as much about their employees and stuff like that, where I feel like you guys really care about your crew. So let's talk about the crew first, since I brought that up so eloquently. How many people do you have working under the brand?
So on the sales team, we have 11, and then on the office and distilling side, we have about the same. So we're right under 25 employees.
That's awesome. Keep it small, but yet you have enough people to, somebody can cover a shift for somebody. You don't have to worry about, the plant doesn't, nothing closes down because one guy goes home sick. That's where you want to be.
Right. We're still shipping and receiving. We're still bottling every day. We're still turning doorknobs every day. We're, it's a living, breathing organism.
Right. Exactly. And you're able, as co-founder, you're able to step away from a second. I know it's hard to do because it's your baby, but like you're able to step away for a second and like maybe, chill, and then you can come back, and hopefully the wheels haven't fallen off the bus by the time you get back. But that's normally what happens. Every time I go out of town, I come back to a train wreck of, people that need me and stuff like that. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
You nailed it in the word co-founder. When you share responsibilities with a business partner, it is a beautiful harmony. We got each other's backs, and it's, for those of you out there that go at it alone, I mean, hats off to you. That's impressive. I don't want that kind of stress. But hats off to you.
Yeah. So we finished up the single barrel, and now we're going to move to the 10 type series number 2. And this one has a really cool, you're not going to be able to see it because my camera sucks. It's coming soon, new camera. You have to dump so much money into doing things. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to spend this much money. Like, I see people doing it with their phone. Like, why am I having to do this? Anyway, that's beside the point. But we're gonna jump into this, and then we're gonna talk about. It has a really cool picture on it. So tell us a little bit about why this one came about, or how this one came about, and we'll go from there. This one is 8 years and 10 months old too.
So, cask strength whiskeys have just always been a thing to me, largely probably from my roots in the signatory days. We had a lot of, basically everything was cask strength for at that time at least, and
right.
There wasn't a lot of cask strength drinkers. I'd do whiskey dinners, and you'd have a certain audience that would understand it. I feel like today, and this is only like 17 years later, there's a more acceptance to cask strength drinking network out there, and yeah. So it was natural. Everybody has a cask strength product, but we have a private like barrel pick program, which is a blue label. I didn't send that to you. That is that's like a restaurant would pick a barrel, or a liquor store or a bourbon group. We love interacting with having fun with different groups, and it's really fun just because there's a lot of people that get really nerdy and geeky into it, and we love the people that come visit us to pick a barrel. It's not easy to get to us, but we're always here and always open to that. But the Tintype series started as a relationship with a foundation that we've been working with basically since day one, which is Music Maker Relief Foundation out of Hillsborough, North Carolina. And there, I'll rewind a little bit. On the front of our Cathead vodka bottle, we have a statement, and always have had a statement called that just says "Support live music." And so when we started Cathead, that was a big area that we wanted to highlight, was the roots music of Mississippi. And when we met the awesome people over at Music Makers, and
I'm coming in again, guys, because we have another sponsor. Yes, we do. We have another sponsor, and that is none other than Texas Whiskey Festival. And if you guys don't know about the Texas Whiskey Festival, it is actually going April 12th, 2025 is when the festival is going to be. It's going to be in Bee Cave, Texas, at the Star Hill Ranch. It is an amazing place. It's an old Western town looking thing. It's an awesome place to be. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Whiskey Festival, because if you've been to any sort of whiskey festival, this one is that, but on steroids, because we're in Texas, right? We got to do it right. There's anywhere between 30 to 40, depending upon the year. Some people say they're going to come and they don't come, or more people come than you think are going to come. So 30 to 40 Texas-based distilleries are going to be there, and only Texas-based. That's where it's a little bit different from some of the other festivals. This is only Texas whiskeys, and it is really an amazing thing. You get to go from one tent to the next, talking to people like Iron Root, Balcones, Andalusia, Shire, all of those guys. You get to talk to everybody. Garrison Brothers is there. Everybody's there. Everybody and their dog is there. You get to go around and talk to all of them, try samples of their product. A lot of times they have special products just for the festival that they're releasing, a new product they're fixing to release or something like that. You'll get to try it before anybody else. So go over to TexasWhiskeyFestival.com and get your tickets to it now, because they have a VIP section where you get early access. You get special pours. If you're a VIP, you have a special wristband. You get a special pour. You get a cigar if you're a cigar smoker. And it's just cool bragging rights. So
make sure you go to TexasWhiskeyFestival.com and get your tickets today, because I guarantee you the VIP section will sell out, and you will want to be a part of that. April 12th, 2025 is when it's going to happen. And I'm giving you a lot of notice so that you guys, if you're not from Texas, you can come in here and say, hey, I want to plan a trip around the festival. That's what a lot of people do. If you're not from Texas, I guarantee you this is a festival you do not want to miss. So go to TexasWhiskeyFest.com and buy your tickets today. Enjoy the show.
The co-founder of Music Makers, his name is Tim Duffy, and he happens to be a tintype photographer. And then the artist on the front of this label is Herman Hitson, and he is a music maker artist currently with Music Makers. So really cool picture, really cool story about Herman, and really cool organization too. Music Makers, I wrote a little piece on the back of the label, but they really try to preserve the day-to-day needs of struggling artists and artists that might not have the art in the true form and fashion of an artist. Maybe they didn't make it big, or maybe they did and then blew all their money or whatever. But all talented musicians, all deserving of a spotlight, and Herman Hitson is known for a lot. He has a new album out, which is called "Let the Gods Sing." Which, if you buy a bottle of this, you got to listen to his music while drinking it.
We're gonna do it.
It's a spiritual experience, and but Herman, it's really neat. I got a phone call from the Jimi Hendrix Foundation.
Wow.
Or actually the estate, after we released this and talked to the guys at the estate, and they were wanting to get some bottles because Herman Hitson is noted for giving Jimi Hendrix his funkadelic style and playing guitar. So pretty cool quip for Herman Hitson there. But
absolutely,
he's got such a neat story, and I think the best way to start that is just to begin listening to his music and visiting Music Maker website, which we have links on our website too. But it'll open up a stable of artists that are just all incredible and deserving of awareness.
And so what I want to do right now is I want to put it, and I might get copyright strike on this or whatever. I want to put a snippet of his music in the video right now, so that everybody can hear even 20 seconds of it, just so they can hear a little bit. And I will have all of the stuff for the foundation and all the things in the comments down below, so you guys can go check it out for yourself, because it's one thing to be doing something for yourself, but when you start doing something for somebody else, that's when it becomes a heartfelt thing that you're doing. And I can't applaud you enough for giving back to the community and showcasing these people who might not otherwise be showcased, and when you're doing it over a great whiskey, this one is super nice. I don't know, there's something a little bit different about it. It's a little I want to say it's a little spicier, but when I say spicier, I don't mean like rye spice. I want to say it's like, hold on one second. Okay. Have you ever had, and I don't know if you have, we went to Mexico recently, my wife and I's 20th anniversary, we went to Mexico, and they gave us hot chocolate, but the hot chocolate was spicy. It was spicy hot chocolate, because that's how they used to drink it back then. It has a little spiciness, but a little cocoa as well, which is really nice. It's really singing to me. Wow, I did it. I made a stupid... Wow. So yeah, great foundation and great story. I can't thank you enough for supporting them and supporting, just music in general, because I am a huge music buff. I love all different types of music. Being from Texas, Texas music is king around here, and I'm over here listening to Pantera in the background. It's fine, but it's all relative to your area as well. And when you're in a blues district like you are, you just have to lean into it, and you have to understand like where the music's coming from. And I think that shows in the glass as well. Like it's a little, it has some depth to it, and has some I don't want to say sadness, but it has some it has some character to it that some of the others, not that they didn't have, it just amped it up a little bit and gave it a little bit of oomph, if you know what I mean. I don't know. I might be full of shit. I don't. Who knows?
It's a completely subjective industry that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just trial by fire. I have thick skin, and we have a running joke here that if we can't sell anything that we make or put out, we have to like it enough to be able to sit around and drink it.
Yeah. If you can't sell it, somebody's got to drink this stuff, because we have 7,000 cases of whiskey to go out, and nobody's buying it. So let's talk about that. It's segueing into itself. Let's talk about distribution. Not only where you guys are at, but also the ins and outs of distribution, because I hear horror stories of people saying we can't get in X state, we can't get here, and we got with this one distributor and they totally screwed us over. Give us kind of the rundown of as much as you can. I understand there's NDAs and stuff like that, but I don't know.
I don't know if I have any NDAs with wholesalers.
Okay, well, you'd be one of the few. So,
I might need to go sift through my legal contracts over here. I mean, the wholesale industry. If I'll say this, like for newer producers that weren't in the space previously. Right. It's probably extremely ambiguous to them. It's tough to navigate without having a team that I don't know, an experienced team that understands what they're doing, from compliance to structuring wholesale deals, and then managing your expectations of your wholesale partners. I think it's probably one of the hardest things. And then you have your major wholesalers, like your almost 50 wide style wholesalers, and then you have your small family wholesalers, you have artisanal wholesalers, you have it's a big sea, and we work with all of them. We've got a great mix, and I think at 10,000 feet, you need a mix of partners that understand your business and also can help. If you have something that starts moving quick, they have to be able to grow with you. That's a hard thing when you hire a smaller wholesaler. You kind of hit a I don't know, like a growth curve, and it might hit a tipping point where you've outgrown them, and then you have to find somebody else, which is unfortunate.
Right.
A lot of wholesalers, and none of them are immune to this. The bigger ones, smaller ones, you just hope they pay their bills on time. That can send you driving a drink really fast.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So is that how it works? Basically, you give them a product and just wait for a check?
It depends. Most wholesale arrangements that we have are net 30. So
okay.
I mean, that's pretty standard.
Right.
A lot of contracts I've seen like now are trying to push out 45, 60 days, which is not realistic for our size business.
No.
We would never do that. A lot of our wholesalers are net 30, and they actually sometimes pay early, which is great. So
That's awesome.
And those are usually your like family wholesalers, which
Really,
just they just get it, so that's cool. A lot of your big ones pay on time, some of them don't. But I will say this: we've done business with good ones and bad ones. Our stable of wholesale partners right now, I think, are second to none. And we know who we are, and we know, it's funny. Like we do business with the largest wholesaler in the country in some markets, and talking to one of the heads there, he's like, normally I don't meet with supplier 1,600, in the ranking report inside their wholesaler, and it's like, yeah, I understand where we stack up, but
right.
Squeaky wheel still gets the grease, so make yourself known.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. Like with these guys, they're trying to get a product to market. That's all they're trying to do. They don't really care what the product is. They don't really, and I know it has a lot to do. And I don't know
the wholesaler doesn't care what the product is.
Well, no, but like here in Texas, we're 3-tier, so it's
4-tier. You're 4-tier there. No, Texas is 4-tier.
Yeah, well, that is true, and so the wholesaler is just trying to get it to retail, so that retailer can put it on the shelf, and so they're just moving from point A to point B. They're the middleman. Where I'm guessing you guys aren't like that, aren't 3-tier, 4-tier, whatever.
Every market's a little different.
Right.
Mississippi, it's a control market, and so our state is our wholesale partner.
Okay.
And in markets that are considered open markets, that are non-control markets, you're structured a little bit differently. But in control markets, you are paid on consignment. So you're paid for what you sell, as opposed to, wholesaler in Texas is going to send a PO and we'll get paid net 30 upon them receiving our product. Whereas Mississippi, we send product to the state warehouse and then they distribute it. And then what's depleted out of the warehouse is our bailment report that shows us what we're getting paid on.
Wow.
So every market's a little different.
So it's dependent upon how much you sell as to how much you get.
Right. I think that's pretty fair. I mean,
no, it is.
But federally and open markets, wholesalers can't do consignment, so they have to purchase your product, and so I think net 30 is fair.
Yes. You're right. No. I mean, there's so many legality issues in all of this. Like, in this state we can do this, in this state we can't do this. I just wish it was an open. I'm not saying an open market. Whichever is going to be the best for the actual producer, because that's who I care about. Yes, retail matters because that's where I go pick up the bottle, right? But for you guys, I don't want you to get taxed 4 times on a bottle, right? Or whatever it is, or have to sell your bottle for half the price it should be at retail because it has to go through all these processes. So
I'm probably one of the only craft producers you're going to hear that maybe makes a case that it's fair how it is, and we don't want change.
Hey, I love to hear a counterpoint because everybody's like, yes, you're right. And I mean, I only want what's going to be best for you, obviously, as the producer. But at the same time, if you think it's fair, then shit, why change it?
What happened, post-prohibition is the states all decided how they wanted to be regulated, and
Right.
which I think is a pretty fair model, but it also prevented monopolies from really running the roost. And if the system gets tampered with now, I mean, it might, like, in theory, be awesome for me that I could, like, sell you a bottle direct to you.
Yes.
But it's like a lot of breweries want self-distribution. I don't want self-distribution. That would be a nightmare.
Right.
That's another can of worms that I got to worry about, and
You're right.
possibly could cost me more money.
No, you're right. You're right. I get.
But it is frustrating though for a producer my size to get distribution. Like there are markets that I'm a long way away from ever getting distribution in, just because I can't support the market. I can't, and in theory that would be really nice for me to be able to sell e-commerce and things like that direct. But I probably should be focused more on the markets that I have and be happy with what I have first. And
yes.
So
no, that makes perfect sense. I mean, because it's like, if you're doing self-distribution, then you have to worry about all the packaging and all the things, and is it getting to the right place and all that. Whereas once it's out of your warehouse and somebody else took it, it's out of your hands. It's up to them, and hopefully they have good insurance. If not, okay. So we're gonna wrap it up here in a little bit. But what I wanted to do is open this estate collection, because you told me that this is only for Mississippi, which to me, I feel graciously honored to have this in my hands. And the mash bill on the 73 corn, 16 wheat, and 11 malted barley, which that to me, a weeded bourbon that sings to my heart. 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days old. It was 9 barrels. So, I mean, and you guys have all this stuff on the back, which is really cool. One thing we didn't talk about, it said you're matured in American oak char number 3, is about your maturation process and what you guys it's everything you do in American oak number 3 char?
No, it's 3 and 4.
Okay.
And we don't do a lot of toasting, but we're mainly 3 and 4 char, and we're not beholden to one cooperage. We've got a pretty nice source of different cooperages. We're all of our barrels are in one warehouse. So our distillery is located in downtown Jackson, Mississippi, which if you've never been through here before, it's a very small city. We can get away with having a distillery in downtown on several acres in downtown. But we bought a warehouse a few years ago because we were outgrowing our first barrel room and at our facility here. We were like, all right, well, let's kind of diversify and start putting some inventory elsewhere. So about a quarter mile up the street, we have a building that used to bring in big spools of paper for the newspaper, and it all came on rail. So surprisingly, it was all rated the same fire code as what we needed for a barrel warehouse or rick house, and it's great. It's hot. We have air movement. We have we do. I was listening to your rick house episode, and so we do head fill, but we also do side fill. So we actually have more side fill than we have head fill.
Okay.
A lot of times it's just like you'll call a cooper up, and it's like, well, we can't sell you side fill, but we have some head fill available, and it's like, all right, well, we'll take your head fill. There was a barrel shortage a couple of years ago, so we have that contradiction of, well, which one's better? everything you said was pretty much right. I was listening to like more efficiency and head fill. It is scary as hell stacking those though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I like the side fill barrels better, just from that aspect alone.
Now, everyone listening, please listen to what this man just said. He said that I was right. Just understand that. No, I'm joking. I am barely ever right. You can ask my wife. But at the same time, like it is so like when I went to Still Austin, which is a big one here in Texas, they had it stacked up 20 high, and I'm like, that thing is going to fall over on stinking pallets. Like that's scary to me. I don't know if I could do that. But then you go to some of these other rick houses where they're like 10 or 15 high sideways and like 6 deep. I'm like, how do you get to that barrel back there? Like you have to pull all these barrels out to get to that one. It's kind of counterintuitive. Anyway, there's no easy way to store barrels, and the fact that you guys are having to move to another rick house. So how many barrels on a given day? I'm not saying today or any other day, but are you guys housing as of right now, or can you house?
We're a little under 3,000 barrels.
Okay, awesome.
So we're
awesome.
Not enormous, but that's a lot of barrels to us, and and we know what it takes to sell whiskey. So yes. I'm glad the industry is in a really big pickle right now.
Okay.
There's a lot of producers, unfortunately, that are having that are over leveraged and having hard times. And I don't think any producer is immune to that right now. We're including us, but it's just kind of the state of the industry.
Right.
I don't have. I mean, my back pocket doesn't have a big appetite for luxury items right now. I'll just say that.
I totally understand what you're saying. I heard that some of the big producers that are out there had a really bad third quarter, and they're like wondering, hey, maybe we need to stop doing some things that we're doing and like kind of refocus our brand, which to me is like, wow, these big guys are feeling it. So I'm sure the smaller guys are going to feel it. But then you see, and I've seen this, throughout my I've been into whiskey for a long time, but you see a craft movement come up, which it started really with American single malt. There was a little movement of American single malt going, trying to make it a category, and it just kind of swelled, and everybody's doing really cool things. Well, then it went into craft bourbon, and now all of this stuff is just blossoming, and we're talking 15, 20 years ago, right? And now it's kind of coming into its own, and these craft guys are going to these competitions and winning gold and platinum and all of these things, and it's really exciting, but it's also kind of scary to the big guys. I call them the big six, but you can call them whatever you want, but like it's scary to the big guys because they're like, oh shit, we got some competition over here with this guy. He can barely fill 1 barrel a day, so it's like,
I mean, our whole industry is a sneeze compared to like where, I mean, they're all looking at export markets right now and trying to maintain demand. And, there's a hiccup in the industry right now. And I blame that on a lot of perfect storm things. But, I think what's great about the hiccup, and it's not beholden to just bourbon or the spirits industry. I mean, wine is having a hard time. Beer is having a hard time.
Yes.
But for the whiskey drinker, the bourbon drinker, this is like we have golden years ahead of us because there are so many barrels of inventory sitting out there, literally so many out there. And, you've seen this play out in the Scotch whiskey industry.
Yes.
And I think it's a fun and a great thing because you have all these, the age statements are going to start trickle in and getting older, and
Right.
you're going to start really seeing some special things at the expense of a lot of producers that, you know, went too crazy, or, you know, who's ever holding the debt on that instrument. And,
Mhm.
you know, it's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a lot of incredible whiskey
Yes.
out in the marketplace. And,
I
and
can't
I'm
wait.
excited about that.
Me neither.
Which,
Me neither, because it makes both of our jobs a little bit easier, right?
yeah, I'm a little scared about that, because like our barrel program, when we started producing whiskey in house, we knew like we wanted age statements, right? Like
Right.
that's meaningful to us, and you can't cheat that. You can go
No.
buy it, but you can't say that you made it.
Right.
So, I mean, one of my oldest barrels, I pulled this. This is my daughter's turning 10 tomorrow, and every
wow.
child we have, we lay down a barrel for them. And
That's
so this
awesome.
is a 10-year-old American single malt that
Oh,
I get to enjoy tomorrow.
that is amazing. I love that. I love that. And because it really is, it turns into a family business, right? Doesn't it? And you use these milestones in your life and say, hey, can we make a 10-year-old whatever, you know, and just hold on to it and sit onto it. But then, as you well know, the bottom line doesn't like you sitting on barrels. Like this
No,
estate
I agree.
collection. This estate's collection is 7 years old. You had to wait 7 years before you could put this thing into a bottle, which is a big deal, because every year you ain't making money on it. You're losing money on it. But you know, and so that it's really cool when you see these older age statements from these guys. Now here's the thing that I see in the big market is, you know, the big players, like right now we're getting into allocated season, right? And the you know, Eagle Rare 18 and the Sazerac 18 and all their 17, whatever. And, you know, all of these things. And it's like, yes, they're cool, but, you know, like, are you ever going to be able to get it? This is a good product right here that you can actually find, that you can actually get. Well, maybe not this exact one, but this estate. And this is all your own distillate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And let me tell you, and this is not blowing smoke because we've been hanging out for an hour, but this one to me, it's when I first smelled it, it was like, I don't smoke cigars, you know, I don't do any of that, but it's like, if you've ever had like a cherry cigar, almost like a Swisher Sweet. I hate to call it a Swisher Sweet, but it has that tobacco note right on the nose, which is really, it's really approachable. It's really nice. It makes you want to take a sip of it, and then when you get into it, it's just overwhelming. Like, let me get into it again. Pause for drinking. It turns into like the hard part of the creme brulee, but then it has a little bit of, maybe with a little bit of that cream underneath, and then it just has some barrel influence, which is really nice. It's almost like candy at the very end, and then it finishes off with maybe even a little bit of leather, and so it's really nice. It has some really nice flavors on it, and now I know why this was only for Mississippi, but because the rest of the world can't handle it, I guess.
Well, 9 barrels, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
20,
I'm trying to help you out here.
yeah, 2026 is so we could have called this a state release, a bottled and bond, but we're reserving that because our in-house made distillate will all be going as bottled and bond releases.
Okay.
And we obviously only make a barrel a day, so we feel like that's a pretty special designation. And all of our bottled and bond, some advice that was given to us by producers was, well, what age statement do you want as a minimum when you start making your own whiskey? And we were like, well, we don't know because, you know, we don't know what the maturation is going to do here in Mississippi. Right. But, you know, some of our older distillate is starting to show really nice. And so we've just determined that 2026 is going to be our release of our bottled and bonded, and that will all be 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
So, and then we have a lot of scale behind that of those releases, but we'll have 2 different mash bills under our bottled and bond, which one will be wheated and one will be a rye, both in the bourbon category. But we're really excited about that program. And then we have other fun things down the road, but all in due time. We're, it's painful to know that we have these like really exceptional assets that we can't sell, but it's painful, but at the same time, it will be rewarding when we get to release them. So.
Right. So that kind of goes into my last question, and then I want you to tell everybody where we can find you and all those things. But like the future of the brand, like you're already talking at least 2 years in the future, releasing new product, or very well age stated product that's going to hit the shelves, and people are going to be like, holy crap, I didn't see a 10-year-old age, because you don't get that a lot in craft. And especially here in Texas, we don't hit 10-year age statements. We just don't, because the barrel dries up by the time you have 2 thimblefuls of whiskey in the bottom of it. There is a bunch of brands out there doing slow water reduction and stuff like that in barrel proofing and stuff like that helps out. But then at the end, your barrel proof turns out to be 100, 105, which I know it used to be the old style. That's how they used to do it. But it's really cool to see the future. Where are you going to? I mean, I don't want to talk about the new products, but where do you see the brand in 5-10 years? Producing the same thing, expanding outward. Is there already talks of tequila or agave spirits or whatever?
No, I like tequila. I like mezcal.
Right.
I took a trip a few years ago to Mexico on the advice of a producer that is an importer and actually owns one of the largest co-packing facilities for tequila. And I was like, give me some advice. What do I do? And I was like, this is a hot category. I really like it. My team likes it. There's a hole in our portfolio for it. And he's like, if you want to see tequila, he's like, don't go to, Jalisco, or don't go to Oaxaca on your first trip. I'm like, all right, well, where do I go? He was like, go to Mexico City. And I'm like, okay. What do I do? He's like, spend time at, bars. He's like, they're all passionate and all want to show you, their favorite thing that they've, and it really is kind of like a condensed version of, figuring out what you like. But
right.
The pinnacle of the trip was, he was like, go to the Anthropology Museum. And that was what hit me the most, was how important agave is to Mexico. And at that moment, I kind of realized I don't really have a part in this. Like, this is, that was the most like humbling. It was such a cool experience walking through the Anthropology Museum and seeing how ingrained that is in culture, and how special that plant is to the natives there. And I think I'll be fine just enjoying it and drinking it and not having a hand in it. I can't say that that'll never happen, but also, you saw the news the other day, I'm sure, but like a tequila truck got robbed.
Yeah, it did.
I don't want any part. I don't want any part of that.
No.
I don't want random, fingers showing up in the mail to my house,
Right.
extorting me or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I will go, to Oaxaca and, experience, cool distilleries doing cool things.
Right.
There's so much around mezcal that is important to me, and
Right.
I want to learn more about it. But I just want to appreciate it. So
Yeah.
where do we see ourselves in 5 years, 10 years? I think we're going to continue to hunker down and make what we're making and what we're liking. We do want to venture into some single malts. I think that's a very important place to be as a producer. That I just think there's a sexy romance to Mississippi and single malts, and I mean this. I've made a couple of single malts for children so far, and they're
Right.
showing really promising. So
Awesome.
I like the opportunity that we have, and obviously with the Forsyth stills sitting there in the background, I think it's only inevitable to just focus on pot distillation. I think pot distillation is just so much fun.
It is.
It's inefficient as hell, but
It definitely is.
I like that. I like the inefficiencies. It's a signature of what we're doing.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's like the whole reason I brought that up is and this might be the thing of the night, but it's like stay in your lane. Do what you do best and just keep doing that and keep doing what works, because obviously after going through these samples and trying all of your bourbons that you have out, they're all really good. And especially the last one, which I know you hold near and dear to your heart personally. It's really unique and it's really nice, and it has a lot of really cool flavors that I can only contribute to the terroir of your area and the fermentation practices and the distillation and the type of grains you're using and stuff like that. So keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Don't change just because some dude said change. Don't do that. Keep moving forward the way you are, and people will learn. And I mean, I've heard nothing but good things from other people about your brand as well. So it's not just me, which is really cool to see. Other people talking about it, because like when and I know you feel this when you're a brand. And because I consider myself a brand kind of, and people are talking about you in other areas, it kind of makes you feel good. It kind of means like, okay, we're actually doing something. You guys aren't just stuck in Mississippi. You guys are all over the place. And that's what's kind of cool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sample package and give it out to one of the random listeners that wants to comment on this. And I feel like they need to try your product. They need to get in on everything that y'all are doing. So before we go, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, and I don't know if you do anything with like Sealbach or anything like that where they can get shipped directly to them or anything like that, but let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, so we just started a relationship with Sealbach, so
okay.
They're fantastic. They've got our most all of our lineup, except obviously the estate collection.
Right.
And then also Cellar.com. Snyder's on Capitol Hill is their brick and mortar in DC. Those and like Wine Searcher. I don't know if you've ever been on that website, but you can just enter a brand name and figure out where it's sold. So it kind of can help kind of geolocate.
Okay.
We also have a geolocator on our website, so it can show you, the stores that were available in Texas,
awesome.
or, wherever.
Right.
But the easiest way to sum up our distribution or lion's share of our distribution is the Southeastern Conference minus Oklahoma and Missouri.
Got it.
But now we're a little bit in Missouri, so
Okay.
I've been saying that for too long. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Awesome. So, Richard, I thank you so much for coming on here and hanging out with me and sharing some great whiskey. And I want to thank everybody who's listening for all the support and just loving this show. And you know where to find me if you need anything else. And stay on. I want to talk to you for a second, but until next
Randall,
time.
thank you for having me.
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
I appreciate that. And y'all be good and keep your spirits up.